do occlusion area. I think that should work. And then bake. Did it not bake everything? Why is it? Urgh. I forget how to do this. There we go. Let's just make it cover everything. Okay. That's the whole level. And we'll make it 300. And then we go back to here. And we say, oh, there we go, bake. There we go. That's what we want. Okay. So now if we go into the game, oh yeah, I'm sorry, Dream Master. Yes, they did up it. They were including now for performance. Okay. Cool. All right. Let's get the pause menu working. And then let's start working on that how to play screen. So where were we? Yeah, they upped the threshold to 200K. They had that whole big debacle I'm sure you're aware of. That was with the runtime fees where like if your game made over a certain amount, then you had to, based on the number of instances that would run, you'd have to pay a percentage, and then people got really pissed off, and then they changed it to be like, well, we're going to put a cap on it. And the cap was still lower than Unreal's, and people still didn't like it because they had to self-report, and it wasn't clear what Unity wanted us to report and all this kind of stuff. It was a huge mess. And they just recently said, you know what, we're not doing that. And they so yeah, now it's just, you know, 200K, and then you pay license. Flat fee, I think. which is what they should have done in the first place, I think. I think it's on everyone's list. What is this? Fail to load asset. Oh, that's fine. Input actions. Okay, let's drop this in here. All right, so when we're in gameplay, we're going to add an action. Call this pause. And we're going to set this to escape. Escape. And we're going to save. Which is then going to give us an error. Because we need to implement now on pause or pause. Public void on pause. Okay. So Copilot tried to figure this out. Menu. You have to create an input handler for the pause menu, which is not really going to have much. But this is not needed because it's not a mono behavior anymore. Public class player say pause menu input handler we don't have any actions on the pause menu. Well, we could add like a so let's swap this over, create its own class. So on initialize, we don't need to do anything. On disable, we don't need it, but on enable, we want to cursor lock state. We want to free up the cursor. Okay. Actually, let's do that. Let's menu input handler. So we're turning off gameplay. We're turning off movement. And we're enabling the pause. We're also hiding the gameplay and we're showing pause. I think they kind of started deprecating built-in in 6. Honestly, URP is not that difficult to learn. Yeah. I started using URP a while ago, and I haven't gone back to built-in. I don't like built-in. Close. Escape. if anything, it's very similar to built-in, more so than HDRP is, because HDRP is like another animal unto itself. We don't need that. We can now implement I input main I pause menu actions. And then we have to implement public void on pause. It's not on pause. On close. And then we go here. We basically just do the opposite of this, which is disable that, enable that, enable that. And we flip these, we hide, we show, and I double copied this. What is, hi chat, hi dad. So, what is this script inheriting from? It's interesting how you use based on, okay, so I have my own configuration here for UI, and I can walk you through it. So there's a couple of things that my system does that allows me to make things like super easy to switch things around. So let's start with input for a second. So the player can be in various states, right? Gameplay, crafting, inventory, all that kind of stuff, right? So I have this input handler script, which basically it's its own class. It's not inherited from mounted behavior or anything. And it implements this interface. So all my input handlers allow you to collect inputs, initialize, disable. It get, things get called when it enables, when it disables, shut down, etc. Right? There's a base abstract class which just does some basic implementation. For example, this is where I wire into my class for the new input system. So the new input system, input main is the class that it generates. I'll explain what collect input is in a second. Enable input, disable input, just basically by default toggles this flag, and then there's a shutdown that can be implemented. Let's take, for example, player movement, right? So player movement implements input handler, and then it hooks up in, it listens for movement actions from my from this, right? From the action map, apologies. So from the input main class, which gets generated by the input system, I hook into the movement actions. On initialize, I make sure I set the callbacks to be this class, and enable disable basically toggles that action map on and off, right? So when this is enabled, this particular action map is being listened to, versus when it's disabled, it's not. I'll explain collect inputs in a second because that's more complicated. Then I basically hook into all the functions. So I listen to on look, on move, on sprint, things like that for movement. Now I want you to think of the input handlers as a collection. So any one of these or multiple of these can be enabled at the same time. So the way this works is I have a service called the input service. And what the input service does is when the game starts up, all my services that implement abstract service get picked up and loaded before the first scene gets loaded in Unity. So I have a service locator script that runs, it goes through my entire code base, it finds anything that actually implements the iService interface, not the abstract, but the iService interface. Anything that implements that, it picks it up and then registers it, and it calls initialize. When the service initializes, it basically does the same thing. It goes through my entire code base and looks for anything that's implementing IInputHandler that is a concrete class and is not an interface. So it has to be a class that's not an interface and is not abstract. So it's concrete class, any concrete class implementing IInputHandler. And it stores it in a dictionary. Calls register, which basically puts it in a dictionary by type. That is what allows me to say, okay, service, enable or disable this input. Which basically what it does is it pulls out that particular input handler out of the dictionary and then calls its enable input. Yes, technically. The particular project I'm working on right now that you see is a demo that was the result of a game jam. So I'm just polishing that so I can get it up online so people can play with it and kind of promote a little bit. But it's definitely not the final product. I'm going to basically start over once this project goes up. I'm going to start over from scratch and pull stuff over that I've done. And I've been working in Unity for about I want to say 12 years, 13 years, but it off and on. And I'm a hobbyist. I don't do this professionally, but I've made a bunch of games. Actually, you can go to my website or it's actually socials. So you can see some of the games I've created, but they're all basic like small prototypes or game jam projects or things like that that I've kicked around. But what this allows me to do is very easily from my code go into the service locator and say, okay, get me the input handler, the input service. And then from the input service, I can say, okay, turn this input off, turn this input on. And then by proxy, I can then, when the pause menu turns on, I know, for example, I want to turn on the cursor and do stuff. Okay. So pause menu, we're just going to basically swap the UI and swap the inputs to go back into the game. So let's see if that works. Oh, feel free to steal it. Go ahead, knock yourself out. So I'm gonna go into the game, I'm gonna hit escape. Ooh, my menu didn't come up. Oh, I know why. Because it's off. And I have to swap this for a pause menu overlay. And open. Close. And we get rid of this. Save. Feel free, by the way, if you ever have more questions. Every Friday I do office hours I still work on my projects, but I'm more involved in chat. And if you have questions about Unity, coding, game dev in general, I do my best to try to answer them. Um, we may try to build something on the game netter. Yeah, yes, I'd love feedback on the game once I get it up there. Um, but just know I'm not an expert. Again, I do this purely as hobby, um, but I like to have the conversation and like to talk about how we can properly design systems and build them and learn on both sides, right? So I'm a software engineer by trade, but do this for fun. I'm not an artist. Definitely not an artist. All the assets you see are store bought. All the sound and music is done by somebody else. It's done by my good friend Emily. Um, so, but I do all the coding. All the coding's mine, and some of it is Copilot. Oh, come on. All right. Oh, stupid. Okay. All right. So play. Okay, but the back button's not working. We should add a close button here too. Go back. So let's do that real quick. UI. Oop. Duplicate that button. Back button. Back. Back to game. Okay. Save. Yep. Have a good night. Thanks for stopping by. And thank you for the follow. Ooh, 110 followers. Yay. What was that? Oh, we reached a goal. Sweet. Thank you very much. We made it, chat. We made it. I did have this set up. Okay. UI. Private button. It's funny because I had the other button I could have just repurposed. Back button. Back button. Yes, couldn't have done it without you guys. Set up button callbacks. Back button. Make it a function on back button clicked. Private void on back button. These should actually be all. What does that mean? I can make a system for stews. I did want to have cooking in my game. I was thinking that because this is going to be a medieval game, and I was going to add like kind of. I have a big lofty goal of making this slightly open world where you have to like travel to the dungeons, and I thought it would be cool if you could harvest stuff along the way to make like to have have the crafting be a little bit more involved. And then I thought it would be cool if you can make food and farm in the game. So there'd be like part of the simulation or part of the idea of the game would be you could make food which would give you buffs that would help you with stuff. So I don't know if I want to do that, but so the reason why they have that there's a view that software engineers are lesser engineers is because they don't require certain we have certifications, but it's not required. Like electrical engineers have to pass tests and they have to be certified, and some of it's union based requirements and things like that, but a lot of that is because like anyone can kind of call themselves can write code and call themselves a software engineer, but actually being an engineer in the real world is because it's somebody who goes through specific set of training and has to get recertified and stuff like that. That's typically why you could, you know, argue it either way, but so that should do the close button. But we need to figure out why. Oh, I know why. Pause. We have to do this. We have to set up the callbacks now because we did this. So if we go to our pause menu, we have to set up this and say pause menu. And then on disable, we disable the pause menu. On enable, we enable the pause menu. So that should make that escape work. Yep. I mean, personally, what I do at work is I build applications and APIs that are useful for the business. So I work on web applications or APIs. I'm mostly a backend engineer, so most of my stuff happens on the server side, and I do API work, which is really boring. This is credits. I gotta fix that. Okay. That closes. When we go back to gameplay, are we capturing the mouse again? Yeah, it's supposed to. I think that's just an editor bug. Okay. Now, why did that button say credits? Because I think probably because I didn't change the button. Pause menu. Yeah. Close. Oh no, back to game. I said back to game. Save. Okay. All right, so now, and I knew this was going to happen, we have a problem. So the problem is that our menus, before we added a pause menu, our menus are here, are hardwired that when I click back, they go back to this screen. So if I go into play, I hit escape, I go to credits, and I hit back, it's going to go to this menu. Because this was the only menu at the time, and the problem is it's going back. So we are going to have to figure that out. What I've done in the past to solve this problem is I've implemented, instead of opening and closing menus, I've done a stack. And a good way of describing this is actually, I saw it today in I was trying to research the stupid slider thing. And I was watching this video from Unity, and it basically explains what I'm going to implement here. So let's go to Unity. And I want to go to quiz. It was in the quiz UI. That's actually maybe what I want to open up the quiz UI one.
Okay, pop quiz. Get promotes and directly alter art design or content, then won't necessarily impact the underlying game logic. The Quiz U project also includes several demos we use. Each state and pattern truly will is game for the course of its development.
So this is what I'm going to have to implement right
For
here.
the user interface of the quiz game, we use stack navigation or the screen stack pattern. Here we manage UIs as if stacking a set of plates. Last one in, first one out. Every time you show a UI screen, you place it on top of the stack, and then new screens get added on top. This generates a history of UI screens, pop off the current screen, and you reveal the previous one. This is useful for making a back button if you need to nest a lot of menus. And connect.
By the way, the person talking on this video is Wilmer Lin, and I learned so much from him. He has Udemy courses. I took all these courses back in the day. I don't know how relevant they're going to be now. They're pretty old. I have a feeling they would stand up today. But he actually built the exact same thing that he was talking about in this level management thing. That's how I know about it. And I've used this pattern in a lot of games. So the idea is, again, like he said, like he explained in the video, we're going to implement a stack. So as we open a UI, it goes on the stack. When we close a UI, we're just going to say, hey, close the top UI. And then if there's a UI behind it, it will just show that again. So we'll just kind of stack the UIs on top of each other. And then when we say, okay, pop, 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 it just rolls them back. And this allows us to reuse the same menus without having to create custom logic inside the menu in order to back out, like we have right now, where we have an issue where it's hard coded to go back to, from pause to go back to, it goes from the pause menu to like the how to play screen and then back to the main menu because it's not going back to the pause screen. I don't know if that made any sense, but hopefully it did. And we're going to do that in our overlay service. In our overlay service, we're going to add a private stack of type I overlay. And we're going to call this the stack. Okay. Then when we show we're actually going to get the overlay first. So I overlay. Overlay. We're going to show it. And then we're going to, they're doing contains. Do we care? I don't think we care. We're just going to push on top. I don't think we're going to ever be in a scenario where we're pushing. Like, I guess we could be more defensive and say, okay, if it's already in the stack, move it to the front. Like, we could do something where we like take it out of the stack and then move it to the front. So you can only have ever like one of the same screen open at the same time. But versus being able to have the same menu open up at the same time, but we'll just do it this way. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to add a new, say, close. And basically, close is just going to pop the top one off of the stack and hide it if there is one. All right, guys, enough with the engineers. So now we're gonna have to refactor some of our overlays. Oh, but so we're gonna have to make sure that this always goes. All right. So here we're gonna say close because that's gonna close the main menu. Then it's going to, we're gonna make sure we do the alerts overlay first and then the gameplay overlay. Now, start shows the main menu. That's fine. So actually, I think we should never hide a menu. So if I go to override service and I go to hide, instead of saying this, we're going to say close. 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 Hoping I'm not like blowing up my game by doing this. That will close. 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 Let me make sure we close first. Okay. Almost done. Kind of lost where I was there for a sec, so I restarted. Close. 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 Okay. Oh, actually, on these, we don't want to close the pause menu. We want to leave it on the stack. We want to leave it on the stack. We're going to push this credits overlay, gameplay overlay. So actually the back, although the back button we do want to close. So here we do want to close and go back to overlay. But now that I think about it, we don't want to, we just want to close here. Yep. Okay. Make sure we're doing all these right. So let's see here. The alerts one is just the alerts. The crafting overlay, when we exit out of crafting, that doesn't get called. So let me think about this. Hold on a second. Dialogue. You know what? I think I screwed this up a little bit. I got to think through this. So close other tabs. Okay, so we're not calling hide. And that's the other thing we need to do is that we have to check if there's anything on the stack, which is if, yeah, that's what we want to do. So if there's something on the stack, we're going to peek at it, we're going to hide it, and then we're going to get the new overlay and push it on top. Then when we say close, we're just going to pop, and then we're going to show, we're going to check to see if there's something behind it, and if there is, we're going to show it. So now Let me look at all the instances where we're showing. So entering crafting, we're not going to close. We're just going to push the crafting overlay on top. And then when we're exiting crafting, we're just going to close. We're going to close the crafting menu. Dialogue. Dialogue, we're just going to push the dialogue on top. And then when we end dialogue, we're just going to close. So when we start the game, we're going to push the main menu on top. When we start gameplay, in this particular instance, we do want to hide. We want to close the main menu and then push the alerts overlay, push the gameplay overlay on top. So this is fine. We're going to leave it like this. Now, end game, we're hiding all of them and showing the game over dialogue. I think that's totally fine. Although technically we don't have to do that because this should automatically take care of that. But just in case, we're going to do hide all. We're going to leave that as is. So here we don't need to show the gameplay. We're just going to close this. On back clicked, we don't need to show the main menu anymore. Okay, this one we fixed. So here we're going to push onto the stack, pushing this onto the stack, pushing this onto the stack. Same thing here. Okay, so far so good. On pause, we're going to push the pause menu on top. Inventory, we're going to push the inventory menu on top. On close, we're going to close. That was this one, right? Oh, quest. Yep, I think we're good. I think we got everything. Oops. Let's see if we broke anything. So how to play brings us back here. Settings brings us back here. Credits brings us back here. We go to play. We open the pause menu. How to play brings us back here. Settings brings us back here. Credits, back to game. We're back in the game, but it didn't re-enable controls. We can fix. Oh, then it did. Kind of got screwed up a little bit, but so when we do back to game off the pause menu, so pause menu. We have to input service. We have to enable input. Input handler. We also have to do the movement. Enable player movement. Input service. Disable input. Pause. Okay. And then that goes for the same here. When I'm in here. Yep. So when I close, it does this too. Okay. Okay. So now I can go into settings, turn off the music, lower the sound effects, lower the UI, go back to game, go here, check the credits. And it's technically not paused. I guess we can go into... Can go into the pause menu handler, and I can, when we enable input, we could also do time.times. Cyber Crystal City, thank you for the follow. Time scale. Hopefully that won't ruin the UI stuff. Welcome to the stream. I don't drink coffee. So it is paused. I will have tea, but I'm really not. Oh. Okay, something broke the UI. Let's find out what did it. Honestly, I am like a soda and iced tea type of person. I don't really drink tea or coffee or anything. Although I really tried hard to cut all of that out. So I really just drink water. Okay, so that is fine. Was it the tools? Yes. Okay, so the tool, switching to the tools did it. So when we are in, that's in gameplay. Player. Let's open tool select in gameplay. So opening inventory, pause. Oh, there we go. Is that extra close? And then when we go here, we just make sure we close the menu. Okay. Yes, I know. I'm a rare person. I don't drink alcohol either. I never understood the obsession that programmers have with coffee. Pizza engineer. That I am. Pizza engineer. What's wrong with they cook? Why would they? That seems kind of insulting now there. They cook food. Why wouldn't they be called chefs? Why wouldn't they be called chefs? On exit, close menu. Come on, man. It's cooking food. You're just nitpicking. We can't lose the UI. That's not good. Why? When I hit Q, we show the tool select overlay. We disable this. We enable this. When I hit Q again, I wasn't hitting Q, I was hitting escape. Why does it say global on it? Oh, that's why. So they both should be triggering the event. Hmm. Still cooking, Nether. It sounds like you are, though. It sounds like you're gatekeeping cooking and being called a chef. Oh, so that I lost the UI there too. Huh. All right, let's find where we're calling close from. Not calling hide anywhere. Let's find out where we're calling close from. So crafting. Oh, you know what? I'm going to turn off this camera. Just comment that out for now. I had an idea where the camera would change. That's why the camera shifts when you do this. Just calling close. Well, I mean, yeah. I guess it doesn't. You don't have. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. I disagree. Okay. Stack count is currently 3. What is in the stack? Oh, alerts is there. How did alerts get there? I mean, and my ex brother-in-law was a chef, and he owned a restaurant, and he was classically trained, and like I understand that side of it. See, this should be putting alerts on first, and then oh, because no, wait. That's a little hacky, but so the issue that I have right now that I'm dealing with is that it looks like the gameplay UI is not showing up again. So I'm closing out the menu, the crafting menu, for example, and it's not re-enabling the gameplay UI. But when I looked, I noticed that the alerts UI was in the stack, and I remember when we push onto the stack, we hide it. We need that to be visible, so that we can display the getting the quest. So I quickly did a hack where I said you can pass in a variable to say when you push another thing on the stack, whether or not you hide the previous UI. Yeah, so okay. Give me 1 second, I'll explain it. Okay, so this should have 3. We have the crafting UI, the gameplay UI, the alerts UI. So we pop this off. So now this should be the crafting UI, and we call hide. Then we say, okay, if the stack is greater than 2, which it is, it should pop. So we should get the gameplay UI. I think that's what was happening. So the gameplay UI we'd get the current. Oh, we call show. Ah, I'm so dumb. Okay. I know what's happening. Okay. Yeah, because I think down here we're showing and then pushing, and pushing is then hiding. So, okay, so this is a problem with the multiple. Maybe I should have that check. Okay. It's tricky. Scale and draw. Here we go. Sorry for the flashbang. Dark mode. Okay. So yes, so we had UIs, right? So we had our main menu, and then on the main menu we had play game. Well, that's not a menu, but we had gameplay UI. We had the alerts UI. These are all UIs. We had the settings. We had the how to play. You guys got it, right? Credits, right? Then we have the pause menu. Pause menu, right? Then we have some other AI UIs too. We have the dialogue. We have the crafting. Those are, oh, and technically we even have an inventory UI, but it's not functional. And then I might as well add over here, we have the game over UI. Okay. So what I was trying to do was, I originally had it set up where you open the main menu, and then from the main menu, you can play the game, or you could open one of these screens, right? And then when you go into play, these two UIs are together. So when you're playing the game, these two UIs are open. And then you can enter any one of these: dialogue, crafting, inventory, and now you can pause. All right. And then at the end of the game, when you complete the game, you have this. So what I wanted was that when you open the pause menu, you can also look at these, right? But these are standalone, and these all, had self-contained logic. And the logic said when you close the how to play menu, go back to the main menu, and that doesn't work, right? And rather than building custom logic that says, okay, well, who opened me, the main menu or the pause menu? And then if it's the main menu, go back to the main menu. If it's the pause menu, go back to the pause menu. I mean, I can do that, but to me, that wasn't nice. So instead, I went with a stack. So the idea is that the main menu opens, right? Let's move all these over here. The main menu opens. If you open how to play, it pushes how to play onto the stack. And then it hides this, right? So now this is hidden and this is visible, right? So let's do it this way. So this is hidden, this is visible. Then when you exit out, we're just going to say, hey, pop this off. Pop this off back to here, and then enable this. That's what we want. Yeah, this stuff like that. So actually, let's make the current overlay. I think this is better. So, okay, so the problem is that I am showing, when I say, hey, show this UI, I say, okay, if there's anything on the stack, look at it and hide it. So don't take it off the stack. Look at it and hide it. Then take the current URL, the overlay, make it visible, and push it onto the stack. So now the overlay on top is good, right? Then I have this close. So when I say close, I say, okay, pop whatever's off the top of the stack and hide it. Then check to see if there's anything else on the stack. If there is, look at the top thing and show it. But the problem is calling show. No, calling show wouldn't run this. I thought calling show might run this, which was then putting it back on the stack. So this should work. But what I think I might change is we're going to have a current overlay thing. So we're going to say show. If the stack is greater than 0, so actually we're going to say if current overlay does not equal null, we're going to hide it, and then we are going to push it on the stack. Push. Current overlay. Then, and we're only going to hide it if hide. So if hide, then hide it. Otherwise, just push it onto the stack. Then we're going to get the overlay. And we're going to call show. So actually, we can put this back to Oh, and then actually we want to say current overlay equals this. And then say current overlay show. Now, when we say close, we say if the current overlay is null, do nothing. Otherwise, hide the current overlay. And then we check to see if there's anything on the stack. We pop it into current overlay and we call show. Okay. So the current overlay, whatever it is not in the stack. It only goes into the stack if something goes on top. So what happens is when we click play game, this actually gets removed. This does get closed. Then, oh, and actually one more thing we should do is say current overlay is null, just to clear it out, because it might be the last thing on the stack. So we say close, that pushes this off, closes it out. Then what it does is it pushes alerts and it pushes this. Now alerts is special. It's set to not hide when it goes onto the stack. Gameplay UI goes on. Now we go into pause menu. So pause menu goes on. This gets disabled. This gets enabled. Then we say how to play. This gets enabled. This gets disabled. We now pop this off. We say close this. So actually, this is the active one. These are on the stack. Now we close this. This gets closed. This is on the stack. This gets popped and becomes the active one. Then we close this one. It goes here. We pop this off. This becomes the active one. This is still visible, even though it's on the stack. Then when we say we have a close all or hide all, I thought we had a hide all. Yeah, we do. So hide all. I'm actually going to change this to close all. So close all. All this is going to do is going to set the current overlay to null. It's going to clear out the stack and it's going to hide all the UI. Okay. And that's only called at the end of the game, just to make sure all the UI is closed before we show the end of game. So let's try this. See if doing it this way works. Because the problem is we're in gameplay. And for some reason we were opening the tools. So we had the tool select wheel. What was happening was this was getting pushed on the stack. So this was turning off. This was on. Then we were closing it. So this was getting popped off. And then for some reason, this was not getting re-enabled. This was staying hidden. But we will see. I should remember to close the game when I'm editing code, because I don't have hot reload. Okay. This is all saved. So let's go. Still did it. Why? Why does that one screw up? It seems like the ones... it's probably something really dumb. So the current overlay is the crafting overlay. So we are going to hide it. We set the current overlay to null, so it's no longer the current overlay. The stack has 2 items in it, as gameplay and alerts. We're going to pop. So now current overlay is the gameplay overlay, and then we're going to call show. So let's go into show. Now this should be visible. Yeah. But it's not. Oh. How did this get closed again? It's getting called twice. It should only get called from exit crafting. Why would that get called twice? Oh, it's a bug. It's a bug. Okay, we found it. It's a bug. So when in the new input system, when you push a button, 3 events get fired. Well, potentially 3 events. One is performed. The other one is, and you can actually look at this, is started. And the other one is canceled. So any one of these can actually get called. So The problem is, I think what was happening was started was getting called and then performed was getting called. So it was triggering the exiting crafting twice. And my guess is if we go to dialogue, when we exit dialogue, okay, we're doing it properly in dialogue. And if we go to the tool select, when we close the menu in tool select, yes. So all of these actually should be this. Same thing here. These should all be, otherwise they are going to fire twice. Oops. Switched it up on me. Okay. It was calling it twice, so it was actually closing multiple things. Is there anywhere else where I could be doing that? Drop, place. Okay, movement, no. Inventory. On exit, same thing. If okay. Context. Dialogue, context. There's no skip. Context. Okay. Context. Pause, context. That's what the bug was. Okay, we figured it out. Close all tabs. Figured it out, chat. So let's check it out. Yep, that's good. Tools. Yep, we're good. Okay. All right, it's 11:30 and I can't stay up too late. So I really wanted to finish the how to play screen. which is like, how do I sum up this game in something that's coherent? Maybe I can do like a card with a picture. So I can take like a screenshot. I can say like, break down items with your axe. Harvest resources with your pickaxe. Maybe that's what I'll do. So the content here, let's make it bigger. 200, 200, right to the edges, right? 325, 300 maybe. Yeah. 350. Yeah. Again, this isn't the final game. It's how do I say this? It's kind of like a prototype, like a just it's the result of a game jam, and I just wanted to finish it. But I'm gonna start over with a more structured game after this is done, and this is literally the last screen I want to do. So let's call this card. And content, we're actually going to change to make this flexbox this way. And we're going to say don't grow to fit. We're going to set the width. So we do want the height to be 100%. We want the width to say, like, I don't know, 400. That's too small. That looks good. So 850. Then let's give it a margin spacing. Let's do 10 and 10. Not padding, 0. 10. And then remove the top margin. Okay. Then we have card. We'll call this screen shot. And then we'll have another visual element below. Call this text. And we'll drop a text in there. And this is the, you know what? Why don't we just make the text the thing? Call this text. Should just call it card text. Card text. Card screenshot. And then so we want to add a new USS sheet. duplicate this. Put that in the new spreadsheet. Make this the active one. Rename this to how to play. Copy that. Change this to how to play overlay. Okay. Then we can remove this. And then we have this, which we're going to do card extract. Actually, let's create a new CSS because we're going to actually make this a template. UI widgets. We'll call it a tutorial card. Tutorial card. Let's move that in here. Make it the active one. Tutorial card. Add that class here. We can drop that. Card image. We don't want to grow, but we're going to set the height to be, actually, let's do percentage. Let's do 60%. And then this will grow. Okay, and then change the font to 70. That's the font I use. Background. We'll put it on black so it really stands out. And then we can also pick one of the cool textures for the backgrounds. Let's do that. And then let's see what else we have. We can like parchment. Could do something like this. Yeah, we'll use one of these. Let's use that. Make it a little bit more visible. A little bit more washed out. Okay. Um, Let me do it this way. And then card text background. This is the new UI toolkit, yes. It uses like its own kind of version of CSS called USS. Okay, then this. Go back to here. I don't know why there's two. We'll undo the font. Duplicate this. Undo that. Undo that. Give this to card text. And then from here, we'll put the stuff back, which was this font, 70, like a white. We'll give it a shadow of and then this we want to fill the space. We also want it a padding on it. Let's do 20 pixel margin. Maybe 10 on the top. 10 on the bottom. 30. That looks better. 30. Okay. And then let's like get a screenshot and drop it in there. Screen. It's not. Oh, sorry, I missed your second part of your question. It's actually not default. Um, it's available. It's not default in Unity 6. I decided to use it in this project to learn it, but you don't have to use it. In fact, I'm actually using a mix of UI toolkit and old UI in the game itself. Let's do print screen. X. Screen. Screen. Let's show a bucket. The alerts didn't pop up, so we have to fix that. If I go to UI, overlays, alert overlay, and then we find where we're referencing this. We're saying show false or hide false. Oh. Okay. We do it here, actually. Because of the way we set it up. Okay. I meant to show you guys that. I gotta fix this project. We don't need this anymore. I wanted to show the somebody asked about the multiplayer game that I was working on, which I have to update my Twitch description to talk about Fortress Flipper, but I was working on a multiplayer game that plays like D&D. Well, there's a certain experience I want. Honestly, like, I still prefer the old way. Only because I just got, I guess because I got used to it. Okay. That might actually be a better screenshot. Let me grab one of those. So here's the thing. Here's what I like about it. You can actually do UIs pretty quick once you kind of get familiar with it. But there's like little quirks to it that drive me nuts. And wiring stuff up is annoying, but there's pretty cool videos about it and stuff that I haven't even dabbled into. Like, for example, when you're looking at elements like this text, for example, there's this like binding thing that you can do, and you can wire it up to like another class, um, which then automatic like does the data binding for you, which is really powerful and really cool. So like for example, I can select this as um, a particular class, like in let me think. Actually, you know what? Let's use it as an example. So um, we can use a scriptable object here to like do this. Um, let's figure it out. Let's make it work. We want a scriptable object that binds to. We're going to need an image and we're going to need text. So let's create that. In UI, let's close this. Save. Um, let's figure it out. Overlays. Let's create a class in my UI thing. We'll call this tutorial card data. And then we will namespace. I've always wanted to learn it to do this. I know, for example, you can also like feed it a class, which is pretty cool too. So you can say like, hey, this field is sourced from this class, this property. And then you go to your class, and when you bind to the element, you say, okay, here's your data source, here's the class, and then so it gets the instance, and then it can pull the properties, which is actually really cool. Scriptable. Sayonara. Okay, and we need a sure. There you go. That's where we're gonna go with that. And then this can be a text area. Okay. Filing. Okay. Then let's go to scriptable objects. Let's create a folder. Tutorial card data. And then create a new one, Dayanara UI, tutorial card data. We're going to call this quests. So complete quests. And we'll say complete quests. We'll say War Chief Prime needs your help. Clean up his stronghold to complete the demo. Okay. And then we'll make a screenshot. We'll go to, let's see here. Where's my photos, screenshots? There we go. You can see chat on that side. So let's just clip this. We want it vertical. Okay. Save that. Let's go to, do I have sprites? I do. Just drag in that screenshot. Call this quest. Tutorial screenshot quests. Okay. And we're going to make this a sprite. It's a single sprite. Don't need a physics shape. Apply. Okay. So now let's go back to our scriptable object. Lock that in there for a sec. Okay. So now we go back to our UI. And for text, let's find tutorial card data. And then we want the description. And then the card image. We want the tutorial card this, and we want the image. And then how do we use that? So if I go back to the text, looking at the text, we're going to say add binding. Oh, maybe this is where we do it. Okay. So actually we're not going to do it up here. So let's unset. Okay. And then here we do add binding. To tutorial. And then that is the description. And we set it to target. And what's interesting here is you can actually do it two ways. You can set it on the scriptable object or the class that you're pulling in. You can only do it once. And then you can also say on source chain what to do, right? So we're going to add the binding. So now we see this little purple thing saying that the binding's resolved. And we can see that our text got populated. Then we can go here to the background. And we can do the same thing for this image. So we change this to sprite. We're going to add a binding. We're going to do tutorial image, add binding, and there it is. And then we just have to fit this. We want this to wrap. So now it's all wired up. Yeah, and it's cool because, like I said, you can do two-way binding or one-way, one-way binding. Now, here's the next tricky part. Okay, we built this, right? Now I want multiple cards, so I can just copy these and just do it this way, right? So now we have 4, right? That's pretty much the max that can fit there is the 4. But actually, what if I add another one? It squeezes. Okay. So we'll see how many we need, but Let's go with 4 for now. I actually want this to be a template. I don't want to have 4 of the same repeating things over and over. So I'm going to do create template. And I already kind of started breaking it out like this because I had a separate CSS file already created. So I'm going to go into widgets, which is what my nickname for like reusable components for UI. And I'm going to call this tutorial card. Tutorial card. I don't know why it does that sometimes. All right, so now it converted that to this. So now I can delete this. And we're going to duplicate this. Okay, so we're back to 4. But now it's all wired up to the same one. And the problem is because this is a template, I can't change this, right? What's something unique about you that most people might not know? Like you can juggle, speak multiple languages, have eidetic memory. I don't have anything special about me, to be honest. I can't juggle. I can't speak multiple languages. You guys know that I take karate. I think that's probably the most unique thing about it. I talked about that yesterday. I think that's the most unique thing about me right now. So we have to figure out a way to do that, to override that here. Now I'm wondering if we like this something up here, right? So this bindings, like, let me create another one. I hate that this takes up the whole screen. Save. All right. So now let's create another scriptable for another tutorial. Trying to release data source that isn't tracked. This is an internal bug. Please report using help bug report. Oh, Unity. All right, so let's do resources. So we're going to say collect resources. Harvest wood and iron ore to craft the chests that War Chief Grime needs to restock his stronghold. Okay. And we're going to need another screenshot. Go to my pictures, screenshots. See what we got here. So what would be cool is if we could have like a slash, like so let's crop this to get this and the pickaxe. Okay. Save. I'm not a graphics person, so let's use tutorial screenshot or tutorial Make these sprites. Oops. Sprite. This. Single. Make. And then we go to tutorial card data, resources. Let's pick that one for now. So what we might have to do is create our own custom component. So let's see if we can avoid that. Let's go back to UI over how to play. And if we go here and we say, what if we pick this one? Tutorial. Resources. Description. It doesn't do anything. Okay. Oops. Tutorial. Okay. So the question is, how do we override these values on a, so let's see, UI toolkit data binding templates.
Today I want to go a little further with UI Toolkit and explore not screen. I've bound the coin display to the coins that are kept in my inventory. So what we need to do is just so far in our inventory view, we're procedurally creating our UI. So right above where we define the ghost icon, let's define a coins visual element. That's going to be I'll just make a note here. You could add an action of a type T that would act as a setter. It would just, if we jump over to the inventory view, we can replace that with the view model. Now that we've changed that, we need to change the reference to size. There's a couple other ones that
he wrote something that is not helpful. UI. He was building the UI from scratch. Let's see. Here we go. This is, I think, for editor stuff. Scripts define a game switch and a custom asset to hold properties. Instant template. It's interesting. Instance template. Like we may have to do our own. Binding system. Change detected. Oops. Binding examples. So you do binding path. Okay. And then you bind the object. Honestly, like, it's not bad. I just don't know how to do it. Like, I'm sure once I know how to do it, it'll be easy. I just don't know if I need to create. So I like the fact that I have these templates, but the problem is that the binding happens at the template level. So like if I go into here and I can change the binding. Add existing game UI widgets. You know. Oops. Like here it's bound, right? I got an idea. What if I remove the binding and I do it up here? Does it change? If I do tutorial card data quests, and then I add binding. Okay. Oh. Is it already set up like that? Hold on. So if I go to the card, and I go here, and I open. Yeah, I can't. No, see, I can't change it. It'd be great if I could change the binding up here. But I can't because it's a template. We go down to here. This was actually just a unset, unset. And if I go up here, background, unset. Text. Why is this still showing? Okay, there we go. All right, so if I do and then I go to image. Hmm. Yeah, it would be nice. Once I figure out this screen, I should be able to publish the game. Cajun. Um, welcome to the stream, by the way. I'm trying to figure out this last UI screen. I'm trying to be more fancy than I really should be. In fact, um, 25. What? What just happened? Okay. Tutorial card. Seriously? Sorry, guys. I'm quiet here, but just trying to sort this out. So the last thing I need to figure out is how to override the cards, because we went a little fancy and we went with the data binding, which I like. The question is, now that it's a template, how do I take advantage of data binding? Because I don't think I can just go up here. Oh, wait a second. What if I did that? Hold on. Let me go to isolation again. And then here, let's add the tutorial. So tutorial card, right? We'll add it up here. And then here, we'll unset it. And we'll unset it. And then we'll add binding. It's still showing this. Okay, cool. It's getting inherited. It's getting the look. Okay, cool. So it's getting this from the parent. Same thing here. It's getting this from the parent. It's getting this from the top level tutorial card. So if I go back to here, I still can't change it here, but can I override it here? I feel like I'm so close. Go back to isolation tutorial card and I unset this. And now I go to, let me unset the text as well. The images, oh. Okay. I have to set the text. Add binding. Call it description. But then we're going to remove the binding. None. Add binding. Oh, come on. Actually, hold on. Unset. Add binding. description. And then unset this. That breaks that. Save. Go back here. We got it. We got it, chat. So now we just make 2 more. Duplicate. Use tools, we'll call it. Okay. And then we'll say use tools. And then we will use your tools to break down or clean up the stronghold. What do we have screenshot wise? Maybe I should just get a shot of the tool wheel. Oh, come on. This is because I'm almost done. Unity like knows when you're close to like wrapping up. We're gonna need this screenshot as well. So let's get a shot of this on. Just gonna hit Q, and we're gonna take a picture of that. All right. Let's do this. Save. That's bad quality. Cancel. Cajun Tater, thank you for the follow. Let's do this one, and we'll do trash. Okay, so let's copy those screenshots over. This one. Okay, that one. And this is screen tutorial screenshot tools. And this is tutorial tutorial screenshot trash. Okay, and then we have to make those sprites single, no physics. Okay. And then let's go to scriptables. Throw away any unwanted trash in the wagon outside. To be rid of it. To be rid of it for good. Trash all. Or yeah, just call it trash. And then tools. Okay. So now let's look at this in the game. Oh, I didn't wire it up. Oops. Okay, so if I go back to UI, overlay, how to play, and then we go to the other ones. So this one will be tools. And then this one will be trash. This one. Oh. There we go. Perfect. I love it. I actually think that's really powerful. I'm glad I looked into that. Thank you, whoever suggested it, or who made me to Ghost Magic for making me look into it, because that is super nice. That's going to be really powerful, I think. A really powerful aspect of this. So we're done. We are done. We can publish this. Now I have to build it as WebGL. I have to take some screenshots. I have to write some stuff up. It's already 12:30. So we are going to do it tomorrow. Tomorrow will be publishing day. Nope, you didn't miss it. Oh, it was, so the trick was that you had to set it up so that when you do the binding, so this is the template, right? The fields are set up to bind to a path. So this, for example, was set up to bind to that scriptable object. But then up here, it shows up and I removed it. And I noticed if I put it up here at the top level wrapper. So like if you think of this as like a container, this said, oh, I'm inheriting the scriptable object from the parent. So then I was like, okay. So I removed it from here and then went to the tutorial to the other screen and set it there. And then it populated all the way down to the references that it was looking for. So the trick is to set up the bindings, then remove the data source, and then go to your other screen where you're using it and set the data source. Now, obviously, this only works if all your data is coming from one data source. If you have other fields being pulled from other data sources, I don't know if this would work. This probably wouldn't work. And you'd probably have to do something else, like a custom component where you could pass multiple objects to it or something. That's probably the next thing I'm going to have to research. But this worked. It worked perfectly. I mean, this even looks pretty good, I think. I feel like I should pat myself on the back for this one. And actually, we could even do something cool here. Let's see how bad this looks. Hold on. So if we open this in isolation, let's add a new visual element. We'll call this the frame. So card frame. We're going to unset this. We're going to make this absolute. We're going to make this extend the whole thing. And then we're going to use a background. Sprite. And let's get one of the let's see. If we used something like, I think this looks good. And then we can save that, see how that looks. A little bit of cleanup I'll have to do, but I think that looks good. But yeah, so I think we'll save this for tomorrow. We'll do publishing tomorrow. There does look like there's a bug with it. It says that it's an internal bug and we should report it to Unity about the dating binding manager. But it's functional and it works. And let's check, make sure it works in game. Yeah, publish. Yep. It works in game. That's great. I love it. This is bleeding over a little bit, the images. have to fix that. One bug. Alright, we'll fix that. Just one little bug. But yeah, you get it. Looks like you get an error from Unity, but again, it works. So we have one bug with the UI. I'll worry about it tomorrow. But awesome suggestion, Ghost Magic, if you're still here, about looking into the data binding. I appreciate you making me do that to show it off. And then we're good. All right. So I think we're going to call it here. I realize my music has been off this whole time, so I apologize for the silence. Do we have any? Jitspo is streaming. Let's see if there's, spread the love around a little bit, maybe. See if there's anyone anyone we know know. Nope, doesn't look like it. Let's go raid Jitspo again. All right, everybody, thanks for hanging out tonight. You'll be able to play tomorrow. So, looking forward to hearing everyone's feedback, and talk to you tomorrow. Okay, let's go. Raid.